Hi friends, today's video is continuation of epithelial dysplasia and we will be discussing architectural changes in it. In my previous video we have discussed cellular changes. Please look into that video before coming here. Before we start with the discussion of architectural changes in epithelial dysplasia, let's first understand what is the exact architecture of the epithelium, that is from basal cells to superficial cells, how these cells are arranged. Here is the basement membrane and the basal cells. Some of the cells of the basal layer are stem cells, that's why they are called as stratum germinativum. They give rise to two daughter cells. One will stay in the germinative pool and the other one will go to the superficial layers to mature into spinous cell layers and stratum granulosum. Here are the nuclei of those cells. So this is stratum spinosum or prickly layer of epithelium, and the stratum above the stratum granulosum we have keratin. These are the keratohyalin granules and keratin in the keratinized epithelium, and there is no keratin on the non-keratinized epithelium. They mature into stratum superficial in non-keratinizing epithelium. Now we know that this is the architecture of the epithelium. Any alteration in this architecture due to any stimulus will be studied under the heading of architectural changes in epithelial dysplasia. Let's start with architectural changes one by one. First one is the basal cell hyperplasia. In normal epithelium, basal cells are just a single layer of cells, as we can see here, but in dysplastic epithelium there is multiple layers of basal cells. That is why it is called as hyperplasia, which means increased number of cells. And here are the prominent nuclei in these basal cells, and this is the basal cell hyperplasia in dysplastic epithelium. In 2005 WHO classification, this feature was present and which was removed in 2017 classification of epithelial dysplasia. However, for exam purpose, you can mention this as one of the epithelial dysplastic feature and also mention this point of 2017 where it was removed, which will fetch you definitely an extra point. For you all to understand and remember better, I have two photomicrographs. One showing single layer of basal cells, as you can see here, and the other photomicrograph showing multiple layers of basal cells. You can see I'm trying to trace all the basal cells in this region, which is definitely undergone hyperplasia, that is increased number of basal cells. This is normal epithelium and the other side is the dysplastic epithelium, and this is the basal cell hyperplasia. The second architectural change is the loss of basal cell polarity. It's a very interesting concept to understand. The basal cells stand perpendicular to the basement membrane, that we all know. This is maintained by something called as polarity proteins, which have particular domains. The apical portion is called as apical domain, which are on the lateral side are the lateral domain proteins, and in the basal region are the basal cell domain proteins. And these give the polarity to this basal cell, so the directionality. Along with that, hemidesmosomes and desmosomes give polarity. Polarity is important for a cell to maintain its integrity, to help in interpreting and integrating signals, microenvironment maintenance, controlling proliferation, apoptosis, metabolism, differentiation, and also maintains motility of the cells. So that is the importance of having a proper cell polarity. These polarity proteins are controlled by certain genes, and whenever there is a mutation due to some stimulus, the gene undergoes alterations. There are some epigenetic changes leading to polarity protein defects, leading to loss of polarity in the basal cells. Here are the basal cells with normal polarity perpendicular to basement membrane, and here are the basal cells which have lost their polarity. You can see in the drawing. There is no directionality to the cells. This is a normal epithelium and here is the dysplastic epithelium with loss of basal cell polarity. In the photomicrographs, you can see the basal cell polarity. Here they have a proper direction, all of them in one direction from the basement membrane perpendicular. This is the normal epithelium. Here you can see the basal cells are completely disoriented. They do not have any proper directionality or polarity. I'll just draw the lines inside the cell to show the directions. They are all, you don't get any perpendicular, any line which are parallel to each other. They are all haphazard lining. So this is dysplastic epithelium with loss of basal cell polarity. Third architectural change is drop-shaped retroridges. Here is normal epithelium with long, neatly arranged retroridges into the connective tissue, whereas here is the dysplastic epithelium with broad drop-shaped retroridges. This is normal and this is dysplastic epithelium. In dysplastic epithelium, we see drop-shaped retroridges or bulbous retroridges because of so much of proliferation happening in the basal cells, in the acanthotic layer of cells. Now we see the photomicrographs of normal and dysplastic epithelium. This is the normal epithelium with proper long thin retroridges into the connective tissue with single layer of basal cells, whereas here it is the dysplastic epithelium with broad bulbous drop shaped retroridge. You can also see a small island of epithelium into the connective tissue. So this is the drop shaped retroridge. This is the normal epithelium and here it is dysplastic epithelium. The small island of epithelium that you can see, which is dropping into the connective tissue in the dysplastic epithelium, shows that this particular lesion is on the verge of turning into neoplasia. I would like to think this drop-shaped retroridge as a bag of coins where the bag is about to be broken. Here the bag is the basement membrane and all the coins are the epithelial cells, and this basement membrane is on the verge of breaking, leading to the spillage of the epithelial cells into the connective tissue, and that will lead to the invasion in neoplasia. Fourth architectural change is the increased number of mitotic figures. Let's understand what are mitotic figures. They are basically the chromosomal arrangement inside the cell without a proper nucleus. It can be metaphase, anaphase, which are the steps in normal mitosis, or the abnormal mitotic figures, which we have already learned. So these without the nuclear membrane are called as mitotic figures, which are increased in number in dysplasia. You need to understand is mitotic index. Mitotic index is calculated by the formula, that is number of mitotic figures in a given area divided by total number of cells in that area multiplied by 100 to calculate the percentage of mitotic index. Here I am drawing an epithelium with a lot of cells, and I will show that a few cells undergoing mitosis, that is few mitotic figures I'll draw in this. So I will just choose a contrasting color pencil. I think white should do. Let me pick white cell. Yes, white marking. So here I have drawn 5 cells which are showing mitotic figures. So 5 divided by total number of cells in that area. Let's take it as 50 multiplied by 100. So if I calculate, it is 10% of cells. That is 10 mitotic figures are there, or 10 cells are undergoing mitosis in 100 cells here. So this is basically the mitotic index. Both mitotic figures and mitotic index are increased in epithelial dysplasia and carcinoma. Here are the photomicrographs of normal and dysplastic epithelium. In the normal, we don't see mitotic figures, whereas all these white arrows pointing in dysplastic epithelium are all the mitotic figures, and you can definitely see there are increased number of mitotic figures in dysplastic epithelium. We can count all these mitotic figures in the dysplastic epithelium and calculate the mitotic index. Fifth architectural change is abnormal superficial mitosis. here the basal cells I have drawn, and the basal cell showing mitotic figures is quite common because these are the dividing cells. Mitosis is common here. But if the mitosis is seen in the superficial cells, that is abnormal. So here are the superficial acanthotic layer, and we can see the mitosis here. Just drawing a lot of mitotic figures here. So this is abnormal. Somehow my writing pad is giving me trouble today. So let me just write it as this is abnormal, that is superficial, abnormal superficial mitosis. This is normal epithelium and this is dysplastic epithelium. Here is the basement membrane of the normal epithelium with circled cells as mitotic figures seen in the basal cell zone, which is considered normal. Whereas here you can see the mitotic figures are all in the acanthotic layer in the dysplastic epithelium, and that is abnormal superficial mitosis. Sixth architectural change is dyskeratosis, also known as individual cell keratinization. Generally the epithelium matures and moves into upper layers from the basal cell layer. So here we have the basal cell layer, the spinous layer, stratum granulosum and corneum in keratinizing epithelium. So the basal will turn into spinous layer here, and spinous will turn into mature into the stratum granulosum, and from there it will tend into keratin layer. But this is the healthy process. This process has to happen smooth, and it is a very important process. But sometimes what happens when the process is very rapid, the proliferation is too rapid, then as we see in dysplasia, then the maturation process is disrupted, leading to some cells maturing and keratinizing midway. So here that is what's called as dyskeratosis or individual cell keratinization or premature keratinization. These photomicrographs show cells with premature single cell keratinization here again. So this is basically dyskeratosis in epithelial dysplasia. Seventh architectural change is keratin pearls in the retroridges. In dysplastic epithelium, what happens is the cells have lost their cohesive properties, and when they lose their cohesion, they form concentric, they are arranged in concentric manner, and their job is to form keratin. So in these concentric layers they form keratin, and these which appear as pearls of keratin, they are called as keratin pearls or also known as epithelial pearls. These are the photomicrographs showing keratin pearls in the abnormal location, that is in the retroridges. You can see it very clearly that these keratin pearls are in the retroridges. Eighth architectural change is loss of cellular cohesion. The cells of the epithelium are held together by desmosomal junctions, and this junctions are maintained, this polarity of the cells are maintained by certain protein domains. So these are the tight junctions, and here are the protein domains which give these cells their polarity. They help to maintain the polarity. They maintain the integrity of the cells and give them adhesive properties or cohesive properties. But when the mutation hits, the protein domains are altered, leading to the loss of cohesion, that is cells are separated, leading to acantholysis, that is loss of cohesion, and they attain capacity to travel, leading to invasion and metastasis. So the property of cells now which have lost their cohesive properties and have attained capacity to travel behave like mesenchymal cells. So this kind of transition is called as epithelial mesenchymal transition. In these photomicrographs, you can appreciate the cellular junctions and the proper cohesive nature of these epithelial cells. So this is normal epithelium. Here, on the other hand, in this plastic epithelium, you can see the cells are getting rounded off because they have lost their cohesiveness. So this is in the dysplastic epithelium. This process is called as acantholysis, and the cells are called as acantholytic cells. The ninth architectural change is loss of epithelial stratification. The oral epithelium is called as stratified squamous epithelium because it has layers which are very well organized. First is the basal cell layer, then are the spinous cell layers which are all stacked one upon the other, and then is the stratum granulosum and stratum corneum in keratinized epithelium. Similarly, we have non-keratinized epithelium with stratum basal, stratum intermedium and stratum superficial, where we don't have any keratin layer. So here it is basal layer, spinous layer and the granulosum and the keratin layer. This is the basics of histology of oral epithelium. So this is with proper stratification, which is very important for the integrity of the epithelium. The stratification is established by the maturation process from basal to superficial cells but maintained by the cohesion of cells. In dysplastic epithelium, the cells have lost their cohesive nature, which leads to loss of transmission of signals between the cells, the crosstalk between the cells to maintain the architectural integrity of the cells of the epithelium. So this leads to premature keratinization and movement of cells inside. All this leads to loss of stratification. So this epithelium has no proper stratification. So this is normal epithelium and here it is in dysplastic epithelium. Here is photomicrograph of normal epithelium with basal cell layer, prickle cell layer, granular cell layer and keratinized layer. From top to bottom there is proper stratification, whereas in the dysplastic epithelium you can see that there is no stratification. So complete loss of stratification here. Even the basement membrane is we are not able to appreciate. You can see the broken basement membrane line. So this is loss of epithelial cell stratification. To reinforce, there is another case of dysplastic epithelium showing loss of stratification here. Now that we have learnt architectural changes in detail, let's summarize. I generally like to form a storyline. This is how I have always remembered epithelial dysplasia features. You link one feature to the next one so that you get a proper flow. So the first one being the basal cell hyperplasia. Because of basal cell hyperplasia, you have loss of polarity. Too many cells in the bag, so it's loss of polarity. Because too many cells in the bag, you have the third feature, which is drop-shaped retroridges. And because there is so much of proliferation happening, which is basically increased number of mitosis, abnormal and superficial mitosis. Because there is so much of proliferation and mitosis, there is definitely prematurity of the epithelial cells. So here it is 6th and 7th feature, that is dyskeratosis and keratin pearls in retroridges. Then the feature which is the loss of cohesion. Here is the loss of cohesion, and the final one, because of loss of cohesion, we have loss of epithelial stratification. Now for the completion's sake, we have to list out all the features in one page. So please, if you can, repeat with me. It may sound quite repetitive, but definitely this is going to reinforce. So the first feature, basal cell hyperplasia, loss of polarity of basal cells, drop-shaped retroridges, increased number of mitotic figures, abnormal superficial mitosis, premature keratinization of single cells or dyskeratosis, keratin pearls in retroridges, loss of epithelial cell cohesion, loss of epithelial stratification. This completes the architectural changes of epithelial dysplasia. Please visit the other two videos of epithelial dysplasia. The part 4 video will be about how we grade epithelial dysplasia based on all these features. So please don't forget to watch it. Please share, like, and comment on my channel and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. See you all soon. Bye.